What I'm going to cover today is something I'm asked about often. Probably like once a week or at least every other week. Someone comes to me and says, how do I merge text from different fields in Excel, into one cell? Whether you need to do that for a report or whether you're trying to do a comparison between two different reports. So you got to get the data in the same format. There's pretty much always a need to do this at some point. And if you didn't know a pretty simple formula in Excel, it could become a real tedious task. And God forbid, the worst case scenario, you'd start to retype things into a different format, which is something I would never do in Excel. There's probably always a way to do it. So we're going to use a formula today called concatenate. And what concatenate does is it kind of takes cells, text from cells, different cells, and merges them together into one cell into the format that we need to use. So I have a simple data sheet here. It's kind of like an employee file. And if you think about a database, it probably would separate the first name from the last name, and it would have an employee ID, a salary, whatever. This is something that's probably, you'd probably want to get the lowest common denominator when it comes to actually a database. So this would make sense. But let's just say I want to put a report together, and I don't want to have multiple different name fields. I just want to have one name. So how do I do that in Excel? Pretty easy without, having to retype anything. So again, I'm going to use that formula called concatenate. So just let me show you how this works. If I come over to the right somewhere, right? So I'll just go into the first row that has data that I want to start merging the cells together. So I want Joe Smith to just say Joe Smith instead of having Joe in one cell, Smith in another cell. I'm going to just hit the plus, or you could hit an equal sign. This just lets Excel know that you're going to start typing a formula. And then you could start typing the formula you want to use. So I'm going to start CON, and you see Excel starts to intelligently narrow down the search. Now if you look here, there's a little FX that stands for formula. So these are different formulas in Excel, and if I start typing CONC, the only one that is left at that point is concatenate. And you can see right here it says join several text strings into one text string, which is exactly what we want to do in this case. So if I say tab at this point, because once you see that the formula you want to use is highlighted blue, if you hit tab, it kind of brings that formula into Excel and opens up the parentheses so you can start typing in the formula. The easiest way to do this for me is just to kind of start linking the cells. And now you see text 1 and then comma, text 2, and so on. But if you weren't really sure of the syntax of how to use that formula, I'd always just come up here into this formula wizard. And once concatenate with the open parentheses is on the cell, and you click this wizard, it kind of brings up the wizard for concatenate. So really I'm going to start, stringing along different text fields, and I'm going to merge them into one text field. So what's text 1? So I'm going to come right here to Joe, because I'm in row 5 right now, and I'll just click that, and so that's A5. I'm going to go text 2, I'm going to say Smith, and now I say okay. That's going to bring together Joe and Smith. But now if you look and you say, wait a minute, I want there to at least be a space between Joe and Smith so it kind of looks legible, right? There's two ways to do this, right? So you can come back up into the formula wizard, and you could just kind of add another formula. So here I want to say add a space, and now I'm going to come to text 3, and I'm going to add the Smith again. So that gives me Joe Smith. If I want to back up, the other way to do that is just to hit F2 in the cell that has the formula, and I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to hit a quote, space, quote, because it's text, so we have to put them in quotes, and then hit the comma. So I've just kind of forced in another text field there. So it doesn't have to be another cell. You could type in something, to kind of add to the string of data. Now let's just say you wanted it to be Smith Joe, right? So you want it to be last name, first name. So again, I'm just going to do it again, where I'll just hit CONC, hit tab, and now I'm going to, instead of just going to the formula wizard, I'm just going to select B5. I'm going to hit a comma, and now again, I'm just going to hit A5 so you could see that this is going to not have any spaces, nothing like that. So what you can do here is you could either come here and say, hit a quote, hit a space, hit another quote, and then I have another comma, and now that's going to put Smith, comma, Joe. Now what if you wanted there to be a comma showing up in the Smith, comma Joe? Again, I'd go into the F5, and let's just say in this, see, in the quotes is text, so whatever I put here, it's going to actually show up. So if I want to actually view a comma in the before the actual space, I'm going to hit a comma, and now it's Smith, comma Joe. Another way to do that, let's just say I got rid of this comma. I could just put a comma up here, right? So there's a comma somewhere in this Excel worksheet. And instead of coming here and doing this, I could actually just link to this. And that'll give me that. But then again, I'd probably want the comma and the space. The only thing here is before I copy this down, because if there's just like one field that has the comma, if I start copying this formula down, that range is going to move. I just want to make sure I anchor that F4. So if I hit F2 and I see that F4, I highlight that and I hit the button F4. F4 is the cell, hitting the button F4, the function key. That gives us these little dollar signs, which mean that it's kind of anchored there. It's not going to move. So now if I hit enter, Joe, and then comma Smith, I highlight those three cells, right? So I have B5. If I hit F2, you can see B5, then F4, which is the comma space, and then A5. And now if I copy this down, so that provides us with the name in the format that we want. We have the last name, comma, first name. But let's say we're comparing this file to an outside file, let's just say from ADP or something like that. And our employee number, it's great that we say there's a 6-digit employee number, but let's just say the file we're comparing it to says like EMP dash, like every one of those has that, and we want to do a lookup against that. So we just use the same exact function, the same exact formula, right? We're going to use the concatenate again. So all I do with this case is I'd say concatenate, and then what do I want to do? I want to add EMP dash, right, in front of that employee number. So again, I hit the quotes, and I just have EMP dash, close the quotes, then close that section with a comma, and come over here and actually just click into the employee number. So now that actually has the EMP. This is really, for whatever reason you would need to do this. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can call it anything you want at this point, but if you just needed to see something like that, you could do that. And now that we have this, we would just have to, this is a formula now, so we have to copy this. So Control C, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit paste value. And now let's just say we have first name, last name, and we want to actually bring in the last name, comma, first name, but I may not want to get rid of those other two columns. So I'm going to insert a column here. So I right click on the column C, insert, and now I just could say like maybe full name. And I copy this down. Now again, this is a formula, so you want to Control C, Control C, and I could right click here and just kind of paste value. So you see that's paste value. And that's that. So this is kind of, I don't need this anymore unless you need to do other things with that. I could delete that. And now I have the first name, last name, then I have full name. I've modified my employee number. And this is all done with the concatenate formula. I mean, it's almost limitless what you could do with it. I mean, you could either type in the comma or you could just link to a cell that has a comma. So whatever is easiest for you. I hope this really helps, because this really does come in handy when you're trying to like format text in Excel without having to go crazy retyping and things like that. I hope this video really helped you out. And if it did help, please hit like and subscribe, because that really helps me out. Also, head on over to my website at expertofficetraining.com. And you could see a lot more training videos, and also sign up for my email newsletter and get a free video course delivered right into your inbox. Again, it's expertofficetraining.com, or just click the link below.